Hello everyone, my name is Toyhouze, and a lot of people have been asking me lately about which shield is better, Skullflame Shield or Petrified Lichen Guard for AoE protection paladins in the Burning Crusade. So I decided to put them to the test. By the end of this video, you'll know which shield is better, and the answer might surprise you. The first test is SM Armory. This is a common boosting instance, so let's try one run with Skullflame Shield on, and then one with Petrified Lichen Guard. In both tests, I'm just walking through mobs, no auto attacks or spells used until they are all gathered or I'm forced to use abilities to prevent dying. Now, one thing I noticed right away when comparing the two is that while gathering up the mobs, Skullflame Shield offered more survivability. I'm able to gather all the mobs and start running back, whereas Petrified Lichen Guard, I need to stop and use Figurine of the Colossus in order to survive. We can see this by looking at healing per second on the right-hand side of the screen. We can see the Skullflame Shield's life drain coming in handy as we gather mobs. Now, I think this is a really important thing to consider. As we're gathering up mobs, we also see flame strikes going off behind us, and some mobs are actually dying. For boosting, this is another thing to consider. If mobs are dying too far away, then those getting boosted aren't getting that experience. Now, with Petrified Lichen Guard, we see lots of mobs getting poisoned, but not as many as you'd expect. The reason between these differences is because Skullflame Shield is upon getting hit, the proc, and Petrified Lichen Guard is upon block, that proc. Since you can't block when getting hit from behind, these poison stacks are either when turning or initially running through a mob while facing them. This leads me to my first conclusion about the two items. 1. Skullflame Shield appears to be the better option while on the move. But how do the two items compare when stationary? As you can see, now that all mobs are gathered, Petrified Lichen Guard is starting to proc like crazy, and the damage is really adding up. And when we look at Skullflame Shield while stationary, we're getting what looks like literally no procs at all. And those flame strikes you see going off like crazy are actually being casted by the enemy, not by the shield. So we're seeing no flame strike and no drain life, or so it seems. But let's not leave it to looks like, and let's dive into the data. So this is a recount detail summary of damage done while wearing the Petrified Lichen Guard. Keep in mind that this data is from the start of the instance until it is cleared. We can see Consecration does the most damage at 44.9%, and then in second place we see Retribution Aura with 27.4% of the damage. And then Blessing of Sanctuary, third, at 6.3%, and Spore Cloud, which is caused by the Petrified Lichen Guard, at 6%. Below that, we see Darkmoon Card Vengeance, the Fell Steel Shield Spike, and Immolation from Cloak of Flames, as well as Holy Shield. Now, for the record, I did this multiple times, and the rankings were the same each time. Now, let's take a look at Skullflame Shield's performance. Now, like the Sporagar Shield, Consecration did the most at 31.4%, then Retribution Aura at 19.7%, but then Flame Strike came in third at 17.4%. Then Holy Shield at 6.2%, followed by Melee Strikes, Blessing of Sanctuary, and Darkmoon Card Vengeance. Now, this is where I was really surprised. When I saw Flame Strike come in at third at 17.4% damage, it started to seem like Skullflame Shield was the better shield. It was better while gathering and staying alive and being able to pull more mobs longer, and it seemed like once all mobs were gathered, they died at a proper pace as well. And just to get an idea of how much healing Drain Life is doing, let's take a look at healing done. So obviously, we see Vigilance of the Colossus in first place at 61%. As you can see, Figurine of the Colossus is absolutely incredible and would be my top trinket pick. Then in second, Judgment of Light at 19.1%, which I was using when all the mobs were gathered. And then Drain Life at 10%, followed by Seal of Light at 9.2%. Really not bad healing, considering it's passive. So at this point, you may look at the data and say, yes, it appears Skullflame Shield is better after all, but not so fast. We've yet to look at how Skullflame Shield performs at both higher level instances, say Stratholme, and of course, grinding non-elite level 70 mobs, like the Demon Hunter Supplicants. Now let's start with the Demon Hunter Supplicants, a common AoE farm. First up, the Petrified Lichen Guard. So the first thing I notice is that these mobs are doing a lot more damage. I even thought I might die, but it does seem doable. When we look at the damage meters after the fight, we see that Consecration is in first place at 52%, Blessing of Sanctuary in second at 12.5%, Retribution Aura in third at 9.3%, and Spore Cloud in fourth at 7.1%, with Felsteel Shield Spike in fifth at 6.9%. Now, in this scenario, we're seeing a lot more blocks than hits, because gathering up the mobs takes significantly less time compared to SM Cathedral or Armory like we were testing. So because of that, we're seeing more damage from things like Blessing of Sanctuary and Spore Cloud, which proc on a block. Now let's take a look at how Skullflame Shield performs. Now, as we can see here in the damage details breakdown, we've got Consecration in first place with 59.4%, Blessing of Sanctuary in second with 12.4%, Retribution Aura in third with 7.9%, and Felsteel Shield Spike in fourth with 6.3%, and Holy Shield in fifth with 5.7%. So we don't see Flame Strike on this list literally at all. And again, this is likely because these are block-intensive pulls, a lot less running around and getting hit from behind where we can't even block. So this leads me to my second conclusion. Skullflame Shield appears to be worse when stationary and blocking a lot, especially against level 70 enemies. And Petrified Lichen Guard is the opposite, weaker on the move when you're blocking less and stronger stationary against level 70 mobs. And I did include some tests on Stratholme as well. It's very similar to the Demon Hunter Supplicant farm. Since you can't pull too many mobs here because you'll just die, I did some smaller pulls. And because of that, I saw Petrified Lichen Guard outperform Skullflame Shield. Flame Strike did 5.2% of the damage, which actually isn't that bad, considering Retribution Aura did 6.7%, but compared to Spore Cloud's 10.7%, it appears that for this smaller, less running around quick pull, the Lichen Guard is superior. As an added bonus, if you've been paying attention to Vengeance damage, you can see where the card really shines, the same places Skullflame Shield shines. Long, running pulls where you're getting hit a lot, since it has the same type of proc on hit. Now these items, since like Skullflame Shield only proc when hit, they are much more effective while running and not blocking. So in my opinion, they are probably better for boosting. And if we were to take testing in the other direction, so let's say lower levels, then I believe that Skullflame Shield becomes even more powerful. Imagine a Stockades boost with Skullflame. Run through and you'd probably have even more Drain Life Healing, even more Flame Strike damage, and Dark Moon card Vengeance is probably your best friend. Now, some of you may be curious about the gear I was using during these tests, so I'll mouse over the gear in this next section to answer any questions that may come up. While we're doing that, if you liked this video and want to see more like it, don't forget to like and subscribe for more World of Warcraft content. Any other items you want me to test? Any other questions unanswered? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see what I can do. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.